Zero hoots.
Jello Beats, holla at me.
That nigga Bobby Smurder just a hood nigga, hood nigga. Can't fuck the beats with the good nigga. He ain't a motherfucking wild nigga. Get a fuck up to his eyes fall out, nigga. Fuck up to his eyes and his neck, nigga. Fuck up to his face falls out, nigga. Fuck up to his face till his face falls out. I don't give a fuck how that dude falls out. Falling out. Falling, you know that I'm proud.
Yeah, I've been on my grind since day one. A lot of people thought I was gonna make it. A lot of people thought I was gonna make it. A lot of people thought I was gonna make it out of the hood. Everybody know, yeah, I'm fall up. Everybody know I'm a hot nigga. Look at me, I'm a hot nigga. Look at your bitch, I'm a hot nigga.
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit. Boss a nigga up in the fucking club. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a beat. Sit around with D. Sit around with bitch. What I'm gonna say. Big toxic, back, hey, hey, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I want
Hatha Yoga, or the Yogi Philosophy of Physical Well-Being, by Yogi Ramanamacharyakaraka. Chapter 9, Hunger versus Appetite. Hunger versus appetite. Yo, what up, Peanuts Clark? Yeah, dude, I'm doing good, man. Let's see here. I'm just going to do some reading real quick. Chapter 9, Hunger versus Appetite. As we said at the conclusion of the preceding chapter, hunger and appetite are two entirely different attributes of the human body. Hunger is the normal demand for food. Appetite, the abnormal craving. Hunger is the normal demand for food. Appetite, the abnormal craving. Hunger is like the rosy hue upon the cheek of a healthy child. Appetite is like the rose face of the woman of fashion. And yet most people use the terms as if their meaning were identical. Let us see wherein lies the difference. It is quite difficult to explain the respective sensations or symptoms of hunger and appetite to the average person who has attained the age of maturity. For the majority of persons of that age have had their natural taste or hunger instinct perverted by appetite to such an extent that they have not experienced the sensation of genuine hunger for many years and have forgotten just what it felt like. Wow. Exactly, dude. People don't even know what it's like, and they have not even experienced the sensation of genuine hunger. Genuine hunger. I've been genuinely hungry before. Like, I've been genuinely hungry for a while. Do you know the difference between hunger and appetite? Have you been genuinely hungry? Or have you just been whetting your appetite for so long that you've forgotten how to do that? And you think, well, that's not healthy for you to let yourself get genuinely healthy. Actually, intermediate fasting is extremely important. Fasting is extremely important. Fasting is the body's reset button. Definitely got to do that. I have really never understood the reason of fasting, Peanuts Clark says. Exactly what I just fucking said that people say. And it lets all of the cells in your body rejuvenate. Literally recharge. As weird as that sounds, your body has to tap in to it. It uses all of what's available, all of what you've stored up, and the fat in your body, and then it depletes all of that, and then it forces your cells to rejuvenate and to produce the things that your body needs, enzymes, and decalcifies. DMT's released, all types of weird metabolism. I'm not an anatomist, but let's see here. But cool, dude. Nice to, at least it's just 10W Peanuts Clark and I. But I'm glad you guys. I mean, I don't care. I'm doing this for myself. I need to read this, and I'm just gonna get it on here anyway. So screw it. So wow. They perverted their appetite to such an extent that they have not experienced the sensation of genuine hunger for many years and have forgotten just what it felt like. And it is hard to describe a sensation unless one can call up in the mind of his hearer the recollection of the same or a similar sensation experienced at some time in the past. We can describe a sound to a person of normal hearing by comparing it with something he has heard. But imagine the difficulty of conveying an intelligent idea of a sound to a man who was born stone deaf, or of describing a color to a man born blind, or of giving an intelligent description of an odor to one born without the sense of smell. Yeesh, it's kind of rough. To one who has emancipated himself from the thrall of appetite, the respective sensations of hunger and appetite are quite different and readily distinguished one from the other, and the mind of such a one readily grasps the precise meaning of each term. But to the ordinary civilized man, hunger means the source of appetite, and appetite the result of hunger. Both words are misused. We must illustrate this by familiar examples. Let us take thirst, for instance. All of us know the sensation of a good natural thirst, which calls for a draught of cool water. It is felt in the mouth and throat, and can be satisfied only with that which nature intended for, cool water. Now, this natural thirst is akin to natural hunger. Speaking of thirst, nice cool water. And This natural thirst is akin to natural hunger. How how different is this natural thirst from the craving which one acquires for sweetened, flavored soda water, ice cream soda, ginger ale, pop, soft drinks, etc. This book is 100 years old, over 100 years old. Damn, they had all that shit back then too. And how different from the thirst which one feels for beer, alcoholic liquors, etc. After the taste has once been acquired. Do you begin to see what we mean? We hear people say that they are so thirsty for a glass of soda water, or others say that they are thirsty for a drink of whiskey. Now, if these people were really thirsty, or in other words, if nature was really calling for fluids, pure water would be just what they would seek first for. And pure water would be just what they seek first for. And pure water would be the thing which would best gratify the thirst. But no, water will not satisfy the soda water or whiskey thirst. Why? Simply because it is a craving of an appetite, which is not a natural thirst, but which is, on the contrary, an abnormal appetite, a perverted taste. The appetite has been created, the habit acquired, and it is asserting the mastery. You will notice that the victims of these abnormal thirsts will occasionally experience a real thirst, at which time water alone will be sought, and the tipple of the appetite not thought of. Okay, I got it. So no more whiskey for that moment. Just think a moment. Is not this so with you? Oh, it's true with me. Yeah, absolutely. And I know this is to be true. This is not a lecture directed against the fancy drink habit or a temperament sermon, but just an illustration of the difference between a natural instinct and an acquired habit or appetite. Appetite is an acquired habit of eating or drinking and has but little to do with real hunger or thirst. A man acquires an appetite for tobacco in any of its forms, or for liquor, or for chewing gum, or for opium, morphine, cocaine, or similar drugs. And an appetite once acquired becomes, if anything, stronger than that natural demand for food or drink. For men have been known to die of starvation because they had spent all of their money for drink or narcotics. Men have sold their babies' stockings for drink, have stolen and even murdered in order to gratify their appetite for narcotics. And yet, who would think of calling this terrible craving of appetite by the name of hunger? And yet we continue to speak of and think of every craving for something to put into the stomach as hunger, while many of these cravings are as much a symptom of appetite as is the craving or desire for alcohol or narcotics. The lower animal has a natural hunger until it is spoiled by contact with man or woman, who tempts it with candles, candies, and similar articles miscalled food. A young child has a natural hunger until it is spoiled. In the same way, in the child, natural hunger is more or less replaced by acquired appetites. Yikes, that is scary. The degree depending largely upon the amount of wealth its parents possess. The greater the wealth, the greater the acquirement of false appetite. As it grows older, it loses all recollection of what real hunger means. In fact, people speak of hunger as a distressing thing, rather than as a natural instinct. In fact, people speak of hunger as a distressing thing rather than as a natural instinct. Wow, that is fucking crazy. In fact, people speak of hunger as a distressing thing. Like, I'm starving. I'm so hungry. Every single day you hear that from people. In fact, people speak of hunger as a distressing thing rather than as a natural instinct. Sometimes men go out camping in the open air, exercise, and natural life gives them again a taste of real hunger. And they eat like schoolboys and with a relish they have not known for years. They feel hungry in earnest and eat because they have to, not from mere habit, as they do when they are home and are overloading their stomachs continually. We recently read of a party of wealthy people who were shipwrecked while on a yachting pleasure trip. They were compelled to live on the most meager fare for about 10 days. When rescued, they looked the picture of health, rosy, bright-eyed, and possessed of the precious gift of God, natural hunger. Some of the party had been dyspeptics for years, but the 10 days dyspeptics for years, meaning like fat asses, money grabbers, or food stuffers. Some of these, some of the party had been food stuffers for years, but the 10 days experience with food scarce and at a premium had completely cured them of their food stuffing and other troubles. They had obtained sufficient to properly nourish them. They had gotten rid of all the waste products of the system which had been poisoning them. Yes, dude, that's what I said. Earlier. It gets rid of all the waste, and then whether or not they had stayed cured depended upon whether or not they had exchanged hunger for appetite. Natural hunger, like natural thirst, expresses itself through the nerves of the mouth and throat. When one is hungry, the thought or mention of food causes a peculiar sensation in the mouth, throat, and salivatory glands. The nerves of these parts manifest a peculiar sensation. The saliva begins to flow, and the whole of the region manifests a desire to get to work. The stomach gives no symptoms whatsoever, and is not at all in evidence at such times. One feels that the taste of good, wholesome food would be most pleasurable. There is none of those feelings of faintness, emptiness, gnawing, all goneness, etc., in the region of the stomach. These last mentioned symptoms are all characteristic of the appetite habit, which is insisting that the habit must be continued. Did you ever notice that the drink habit calls forth just such symptoms? The craving and all gone feeling is characteristic of both forms of abnormal appetite. The man who is craving a smoke or a chew of tobacco feels the same way. Yes, that is true. A man often wonders why he cannot get a dinner such as mother used to cook. Do you know why he cannot get it? Simply because he has replaced his natural hunger by an abnormal appetite. And he does not feel satisfied unless he gratifies that appetite, which renders the homely fare of the past an impossibility. If the man were to cultivate a natural hunger, by a return to first principles, he would have restored to him the meals of his youth. He would find many cooks just as good as mother was, or he would be a boy again. You are probably wondering what all this has to do with Hatha Yoga, are you not? Well, just this. The yogi has conquered appetite and allows hunger to manifest through him. He enjoys every mouthful of food, even to the crust of dry bread, and obtains nourishment and pleasure from it. Yo, this is amazing. He eats it in a manner unknown to most of you, which will be described a little further on. And so far from being a half-starved anchorite, he is a well-fed, properly nourished enjoyer of the feast, for he has possessed himself of that most piquant of all sauces, hunger. Chapter 10. The Yogi theory and practice of Prana absorption from food. The Yogi theory and practice of Prana absorption from food. Hold on, I need a drinky. I'm drinking 100% juice. I'm not drinking alcohol. Drinking water and juice. I've been eating healthier lately. I've been losing weight, gaining muscle, getting my muscles and my cells, my molecular man. Molecular man is a badass. If you do a little research into the molecular man, Chapter 10. The Yogi theory. Hey, what's up? Like and share. The Yogi theory and practice of prana absorption from food. Nature's shrewdness in combining several duties into one, and also in rendering necessary duties pleasant, and thereby likely to be formed, is illustrated in numberless ways. One of the most striking examples of this kind will be brought out. Oh, Jesus. One of the most striking examples of this kind will be brought out in this chapter. We will see how she manages to accomplish several things at the same time, and how she also renders pleasant several most necessary offices of the physical system. Let us start with the statement of the Yogi theory of the absorption of prana from food. This theory holds that there is contained in the food of man and the lower animals a certain form of prana, which is absolutely necessary for man's maintenance of strength and energy, and that such form of prana is absorbed from the food by the nerves of the tongue, mouth, and teeth. The act of mastication liberates this prana by separating the particles of the food into minute bits, thus exposing as many atoms of prana to the tongue, mouth, and teeth as possible. Each atom of food contains numerous electrons of food prana, or food energy, which electrons are liberated by the breaking up process of mastication. Yeah. And the chemical action of certain subtle chemical constituents of the saliva, the presence of which have not been suspected by modern scientists, and which are not discernible by the tests of modern chemistry, although future investigators will scientifically prove their existence. That's pretty badass. Once liberated from the food, this food prana energy flies to the nerves of the tongue, mouth, and teeth, passing through the flesh and bone readily, and is rapidly conveyed to numerous storage houses of the nervous system, from whence it is conveyed to all parts of the body, where it is used to furnish energy and vitality to the cells. This is a bare statement of the theory, the details of which we will endeavor to fill in as we proceed. The student will probably wonder why it is necessary to extract this food prana. As the air is heavily charged with prana, it may seem like a waste of effort on the part of nature to use so much energy in order to extract the prana from the food. But here is the explanation. Just as all electricity is electricity, so is all prana simply prana. But just as there are several forms of the electric current manifesting wildly different effects upon the human body, so there are several manifestation or forms of prana, each of which performs certain work on the physical body, and all of which are needed for the different kinds of work. The prana of the air fulfills certain offices, that of the water, that of the water others. Prana of the air fulfills certain offices, that of the water others, and that derived from the food still a third set of duties. To go into the minute details of the yogi theory would be foreign to the principles of this work, and we must rest content with the general statements here given. The main subject before us is the fact that the food contains food prana energy, which the human body needs, and which it can extract only in the manner above stated, i.e., the mastication of the food and the absorption of the prana by the nervous system, by means of the nerves of the tongue, mouth, and teeth. Now let us consider nature's plan in combining two important offices in the act of masticating and in salivating. In the first place, nature intended every particle of food to be thoroughly masticated and salivated before it is swallowed. It was swallowed, and any neglect in this respect is sure to be followed by imperfect digestion. Thorough mastication is a natural habit of man, which has been neglected owing to the demands of artificial habits of living which have grown up around our civilization. Mastication is necessary to break up the food that it may be more easily swallowed, and also that it may be mixed with the saliva and the digestive juices of the stomach and small intestines. It promotes the flow of saliva, which is a most necessary part of the process of digestion. Insalivation of food is part of the digestive process, and certain work is done by the saliva which cannot be performed by other digestive juices. Physiologists teach most positively that through mastication and proper insalivation of the food are prerequisites of normal digestion and form a most necessary part of the process. Certain specialists have gone much further and have given to the process of mastication and salivation they give much more importance than have the general run of physiologists. One particular authority, Mr. Horace Fletcher, an American writer, has written most forcibly upon this subject and has given startling proofs of the importance of this function and process of the physical body. In fact, Mr. Fletcher advises a particular form of mastication which corresponds very closely to the yogi custom, although he advises it because of its wonderful effect upon the digestion, whereas the yogis practice a similar system upon the theory of absorption of food prana. The truth is that both results are accomplished. The truth is that both results are accomplished, it being a part of nature's strategy that the grinding of the food into small bits, the digestive process attending the insalivation and the absorption of food prana are accomplished at the same time, an economy of force most remarkable. In the natural state of man, mastication was a most pleasant process, and so it is in the case of the lower animals. Oh, they love chewing their bones, and although some of even in the lower animals, their natural hunger is taken away and has been replaced by an appetite, and so that's why certain dogs just swallow their foods without even. To just swallow all their foods. They're just like, ah. So, 1 second. My lower body. Hold on. Let me adjust my lower body. In the natural state of man, mastication was a most pleasant process, and so it is in the case of the lower animals and the children of the human race today. The animal chews and munches his food with the greatest relish. The animal chews and munches his food with the greatest relish, and the child sucks, chews, and holds in the mouth the food much longer than does the adult, until it begins to take lessons from its parents and acquires the custom of bolting its food. So that's what bolting its food means. It means food stuffing. Mr. Fletcher, in his books on the subject, takes the position that it is taste which affords the pleasure of this chewing and sucking process. The Yogi theory is that while taste has much to do with it, still there is something else, an indescribable sense of satisfaction obtained from holding food in the mouth, rolling it around with the tongue, masticating it, and allowing it to dissolve slowly and be swallowed almost unconsciously. Fletcher holds that while there remains a particle of taste in the food, nourishment is there to be extracted, and we believe this to be strictly correct. But we hold that there is that other sensation which, when we allow to manifest itself, gives us a certain satisfaction in the non-swallowing, and which sensation continues until all or nearly all the food prana is extracted from the food. You will notice, if you allow the yogi plan of eating, even partially, that you will, sorry, I'm thinking about other things, my bad. You will notice that if you follow the yogi plan of eating, even partially, that you will be loath to part with the food, and that instead of bolting it at once, you will allow it to gradually melt away in the mouth until suddenly you realize that it is gone. And this sensation is experienced from the plainest kinds of food, which do not appeal particularly to the taste, as well as to those foods which are special favorites of your particular taste. To describe the sensation is almost impossible, for we have no English words coined for it, as its existence has not been fully recognized by the Western races. The best we can do is compare it by other sensation, at the risk of being accused of presenting a ridiculous comparison or illustration. Here is what we mean. You know the sensation which one sometimes feels when in the presence of a highly magnetic person? That indescribable feeling of the absorption of strength or vitality. Some people have so much prana in their system that they are continually running over and giving it out to others. The result being that other persons like to be in their company and dislike to leave it, being almost unable to tear themselves away. This is one instance. Another is the sensation which one obtains from being close to another whom one loves. In this case, there is an interchange of magnetism, thought charged with prana. Interchange of magnetism, thought charged with prana, which is quite exhilarating. A kiss from the loved one is so filled with magnetism that it thrills one from head to toe. This gives an imperfect illustration of what we are trying to describe. The pleasure that one obtains from proper and normal eating is not alone a matter of taste, but is largely derived from that peculiar sensation of the absorption or magnetism or prana, which is very much akin to the examples mentioned above, although until one realizes the similar character of the two manifestations of energy, the illustration may evoke a smile or possibly ridicule. When one has overcome the false appetite, so often mistaken for hunger, he will masticate a dry crust of a hole. He will masticate the dry crust of whole wheat bread and not only obtain a certain satisfaction of taste from the nourishment contained within it, but he will enjoy the sensation of which we have spoken very keenly. It takes, I'm starting to get hungry. It takes a little practice in order to get rid of the false appetite habit and to return to nature's plans. The most nourishing of foods will yield the most satisfaction to the normal taste. And it is a fact to be remembered that food prana is contained in food in direct proportion to its percentage of nourishment. Another instance of nature's wisdom. The yogi eats his food slowly, masticating each mouthful so long as he feels like it. That is, so long as it yields him any satisfaction. In the majority of cases, this sensation lasts so long as there remains any food in the mouth, as nature's involuntary processes gradually cause the food to be slowly dissolved and swallowed. The yogi moves his jaws slowly and allows the tongue to caress the food and the teeth to sink into it lovingly, knowing that he is extracting the food prana from it by means of the nerves of the mouth, tongue, and teeth, and that he is being stimulated and strengthened, and that he is replenishing his reservoir of energy. At the same time, he is conscious that he is preparing his food in a proper way for the digestive processes of the stomach and small intestines, and is giving his body good material needed for the building up of the physical body. Those who follow the yogi plan of eating will obtain a far greater amount of nourishment from their food than does the ordinary person. For every ounce is forced to yield up the maximum nourishment, while in the case of a man who bolts his food half masticated and insufficiently insalivated, much goes to waste and is passed from the system in the shape of a decaying, fermentating mass. Under the yogi plan, nothing is passed from the system as waste except the real waste matter. Every particle of nourishment being extracted from the food, and the greater portion of the food prana being absorbed from its atoms. The mastication breaks up the food into small particles, allowing the fluids of the saliva to interpenetrate it. Yep. Yeah. The mastication breaks up the food into small particles, allowing the fluids of the saliva to interpenetrate it, the digestive juices of the saliva performing their necessary work, and the other juices mentioned above acting upon the atoms of food in such a way as to liberate the food prana, thus allowing it to be taken up by the nervous system. The motion imparted to the food by the action of the jaws, tongues, and cheeks in the act of mastication causes it to present new atoms to the nerves ready to extract the food prana. The yogis hold the food in the mouth, masticating it slowly and thoroughly, and allowing it to be slowly swallowed by the involuntary processes above alluded to, and they experience to the full the enjoyment attendant upon the extraction of prana. You may get an idea of this by taking into the mouth some particle of food when you have plenty of time for the experiment, and then slowly masticating it, allowing it to gradually melt away in the mouth as you would a lump of sugar. You will be surprised to find how thoroughly this work of involuntary swallowing is performed. The food gradually yields up its food prana energy and then melts slowly away and reaches the stomach. Take a crust of bread, for example, and masticate it thoroughly with the idea of seeing how long it will last without being swallowed. You will find that it will never be swallowed in the usual way, but will gradually disappear in the manner we have just mentioned, after being reduced to a pasty, creamy mass by degrees. And that little mouthful of bread will have yielded you about twice as much nourishment as a piece of equal size. Did you just hear that? You will find that it says you will find that sorry, my freaking nose. You will find that It will never be swallowed in the usual way, but will gradually disappear in the manner we have just above mentioned, after being reduced to a pasty, creamy mass by degrees. And that little mouthful of bread will have yielded you about twice as much nourishment as a piece of equal size, eaten in the ordinary way, and about 3 times the amount of food prana. You're getting twice as much nourishment as a piece of equal sized bread, eaten in the ordinary way, and about 3 times the amount of food prana energy you're extracting from the same amount of food that somebody else is eating. For the past like 3 weeks, I've been masticating and chewing. I'm probably saying that word wrong, but I don't care. It sounds cool. I've been chewing my food very thoroughly. That's what masticating means, just chewing your food well. And I've been chewing my food very well for the past 3 weeks, enjoying my food, and it's definitely helping. I'm definitely getting healthier. Another interesting example is had in the case of milk. Milk is a fluid and, of course, needs no breaking up, as does solid food. Yet the fact remains, and is well established by careful experiments, that a quart of milk supply allowed to flow down the throat yields not over half the nourishment or food prana that is derived from the same quality of milk sipped slowly and allowed to remain in the mouth a moment until it melts away, the tongue being moved through it. The babe drawing the milk from the nipple of either the breast or the bottle, of course, does so by a sucking motion, which moves the tongue and cheeks, and produces a flow of fluid from the glands, which liberates the food prana, and has also a chemical digestive effect upon the milk itself, notwithstanding the fact that true saliva is not secreted in the young babe, and does not appear until the teeth show themselves. We advise our students to experiment with themselves along the lines just pointed out. Choose an opportunity when you have plenty of time. Then, masticating slowly, allow the food to gradually melt away, instead of making a deliberate attempt to swallow. This melting away of the food can only be possible when the food is masticated into a cream-like paste, thoroughly saturated with saliva, and the particles thereby converted into a semi-digested state, and having had the food prana extracted therefrom. Try eating an apple in this way, and you will be surprised at the feeling of having eaten a fair-sized meal, and at the sensation of increased strength which has come to you. Hold on, I'm going to go grab some appies. Is this chapter? Oh, never mind. This chapter's almost done. I'm going to finish the chapter and then grab some apples. We understand fully that it is quite a different thing for the yogi to take his time and eat in this way, and for the hurried Western man of business to do the same. We understand that it is quite a different thing for the yogi to take his time and eat in this way, and for the hurried Western man of business to do the same. And we do not expect all of our readers to change the habit of years all at once. But we feel sure that a little practice in this method of eating food will cause quite a change to come over one, and we know that such occasional practice will soon result in quite an improvement in the everyday method of masticating the food. We know also that the student will find a new delight, an additional relish in eating, and will soon learn to eat lovingly. That is, to feel loath to let a mouthful of food pass away. A new world of taste is opened up to the man who learns to follow this plan. And Dan, I'm going to follow the plan. A new world of taste is opened up to the man who learns to follow this plan, and he will get far more pleasure from eating than ever before, and will have, besides, a much better digestion and much more vitality, for he will obtain a greater degree of nourishment and an increased amount of food prana. It is possible for one who has the time and opportunity to follow this plan to its extreme limit to obtain an almost unbelievable amount of nourishment and strength from a comparatively small amount of food, as there will be practically no waste, as may be proven by an observation of the waste matter which is passed from the system. Those suffering from malnutrition and impaired vitality will find it profitable to at least partially follow this plan. The yogis are known as small eaters, and yet they understand fully the necessity and value of perfect nutrition, and always keep the body well nourished and provided with building material. The secret, as you will readily see, is that they waste practically none of the nourishment of the food, as they extract practically all that it contains. They do not burden their system with waste material, which clogs up the machinery and causes a waste of energy in order that it may be thrown off. They obtain a maximum of nourishment from a minimum of food, a full supply of food prana from a small amount of material. While you may not be able to follow this matter up to the extreme, you may work a great improvement in yourself by following the methods above given. We merely give you the general principles. Work the rest out for yourself. Experiment for yourself. That is the only way to learn anything, anyway. We have stated several times in this book that the mental attitude aids materially in the process of absorbing prana. Let me say that again. We have stated this several times in this book that the mental attitude aids materially in the process of absorbing prana. This is true not only of the prana absorbed from the air, but also of the food prana. Hold the thought that you are absorbing all of the prana contained in a mouthful of food, combining that thought with that of nourishment, and you will be able to do much more than you can without doing so. Hold the thought that you are absorbing all the prana contained in a mouthful of food, combining that thought with that of nourishment, and you will be able to do much more than you can without so doing. The next chapter is chapter 11 about food, but I'll do that tomorrow. Yeah, I appreciate you chilling, listening to this Hatha Yoga book. It's like fucking 100-year-old book. It's actually over 100 years old. Breaking news. There's an asteroid coming in. We are going to catch the asteroid with a net. That's right. Spit on it. Gotta clean my apple off and make it nice and shiny. And I'm gonna eat it nice and slow and masticate the fuck out of this apple. Oh, I'm gonna masticate this apple, all right. I'm gonna listen to some music. Look at this shiny, shiny, delicious apple. There's a little piece of bad skin right there I want to take off. But this is just a beautiful apple. Beautiful apple. Very happy. Very happy with this apple. Perfect time to experiment. Now, where shall I begin? This thing will nourish me 3 times as much as it normally does. So I'm very happy that this apple will nourish me 3 times as much as it would yesterday. Just because I read that chapter. Now I'm 3 times more intelligent. Peace out. Are you leaving? What do you mean peace out? Why are you leaving? Black moon flame, why are you leaving? You got other things to do. Hey. Huh? Oh. I got other more important things to do. So lucky. Alright. Well, I'm gonna masticate the fuck out of this apple, so if you don't mind. Did you I mean chew, like it's at the end of the chapter it said to perform an experiment on the apple, and then I can basically I'm gonna absorb 3 times the amount of energy, and it's gonna fulfill me, like hunger wise, twice as much as a regular apple. So basically, this apple, even though I had a very similar looking apple yesterday, I'm going to acquire twice the amount of nourishment and 3 times the amount of food prana energy from this apple as opposed to yesterday, which I'm really excited about. Yeah, it's pretty badass. But yes, I'm gonna do this because I actually am hungry now after reading those chapters. Good. All right, it's time to masticate the hell out of this appy. Mmm, mmm, mmm. Mm, mm. That is a delicious apple. Sorry that I have to do this to you, my little friend, but I must masticate you. Just absorbing the food prana energy while I'm masticating the shit out of this thing. Mm, mm. Never enjoyed an apple quite like this. Yo, what's up, Dan W? What's up, Dan Smith? Good times for all. Peanuts Clark. Like and share. Appreciate it. What kind of asshole gives me a thumbs down? No, I'm not going to eat the seeds. See you later. Good times for all. I'll be on Iron Realm Media tonight talking alchemy. Thanks, Dan. All right, cool. Everyone, check out Good Times for All on Iron Realm Media later, talking about alchemy. Bad ass. And actually, Dan W, I haven't. Not only have I been eating less, enjoying my food more, chewing and masticating my food more, drinking less, working out more, playing more basketball, doing more push-ups, being out in sunlight more, breathing fresh air more. Definitely oh, breathe in that good. You feel that? Breathing in that good ass prana, baby. Yeah, breathing in that good ass prana, baby. Yeah, yeah, baby. Yeah. Wow, that is a juicy apple. I'm gonna fucking stretch while I'm. Yo, what's good, Sin? Yeah, I know. I'm well aware, bro. So, what did I say? We're gonna get Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Probably. I mean, yeah. I'll I'll go check the. I'll check the archives and. What did I say? I wanted Kawhi Leonard and who? Was it Paul George or? Yeah. I gotta find that clip. I'm masticating this apple at the moment, fucking chewing the fuck out of it, and masticate. He said, just say eating an apple." I just learned the word masticating today. I can't stop saying it now. I'm just masticating the shit out of this apple. Yeah, No, dude, we gotta keep Ingram, but yeah, Lonzo's gotta go. Peace. Julius probably. Yeah, so he could stay if he wants. Yeah, like, all right, peace. All right, thanks for sticking with me. I gotta masticate. No, I mean I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you can get nourishment from Taco Bell, bro. I mean, of course you can. Your body makes nourishment. I mean, even from waste. But yeah, I don't eat Taco Bell, bro. All right, time to continue to masticate this fucking. You know what? Tell you one thing. I only took like 4 bites, 3 or 4 bites. God damn. I feel a lot more satisfied than I did yesterday. But I do need to continue to masticate this more. Oh, I gotta see if I gotta see if I'm saying that word right. Let's go to Google. Type in masticate. Let's see if I'm saying this word right. Masticate. Jesus. Mass. How do you spell it? Okay. Apparently I don't know how to spell that.
What's good, son? I've been seeing them haters, son. Straight up. My bed ain't getting flashbacks. Why who gon' be about that horseshit, son? Talk about the big boss of the gang, son. Big your mama's cheeks, son. I ain't give a fuck about that whack ass shit, son. Straight up. Yeah. Ain't shit, yeah. See, that shit they can do. I'm a hustle, baby, give it zero room. I'm a hustle, baby, give it zero room. I'm a hustle, baby, give it zero room. Ain't shit they can say, that shit they can do. I'm a hustle, baby, give it zero room. I'm a hustle, baby, give it zero room. I'm a hustle, baby, give it zero room. A lot of haters talking that shit, but I don't give a hoot shit. What I see, I came up from the bottom, yeah, I did it on my own. I did it by straight, I'm straight from the dome. Fucking up the gang, son, it's the train. Be the last nigga, son, I don't have shit. this not the niggas, but best believe I'm a win. I got my third eye open, something like it in the end. Two for down in the state, kicking all that cheese. You know I did that shit and that I get it pretty. Don't even gotta say, please, I get it through the edge. It is up there, shit, I'm doing great shit. They can say, that shit they can do. I'm a hustle, they can give it zero. I'm a hustle, they can give it zero. I'm a hustle, they can give it zero. Ain't shit they can say, that shit they can do. I'm a keep on hustling, they can give it zero. I'm a keep on hustling, they can give it zero. I'm a keep on hustling, they can give it zero. See the finish line, salsa, I'm gon' get it. At the least, we rock the win. Real ass nigga big came up, never give a fuck a who, and I never needed love, son. I grind hard, son, like every day. Hometown hero, son, welcome back. Hustling every day, gotta keep my brain. Can't forget the cheddar, you heard what I said. I can't see the paper from the jump. And my boy bitch smoking on my scum. Rich ass nigga, boy, I'm a ball. Talk to call, nigga, wild Rick Ball. And you know I'm going Ain't shit they can say, that shit they can do. I'ma keep on hustling, they give it zero. I'ma keep on hustling, they give it zero. I'ma keep on hustling, they give it zero. Ain't shit they can say, ain't shit they can do. I'ma keep on hustling, they give it zero. I'ma keep on hustling, they give it zero. I'ma keep on hustling, they give it zero.
I'm a fuckboy, and I talk like this sometimes. What you do is you pronounce the end and accentuate your words. If you don't like me, it's your problem, okay? It's your problem. All I gotta do is God, those fucking people that make fucking hand symbols just to get like people to watch them. It's like, dude, I can do hand symbols nonstop too. God, it's just so fucking annoying. Just such attention grabbers. It's like, we get it. You love attention.
Operating. Installing shock absorber.
Like, isn't that one of the 7 deadly sins?
I need my friends. 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 My friends are great when I'm in a bind. You got my front and my behind. They're always cool. They're always kind. They let me grow. They let me shine. They teach me stuff. They give advice. They're never mean. They're always nice. They come hang out when I'm alone. Bring DVDs. Watch Home Alone. I feel like I love you. Are you thinking what I think? That we could be one of the game? The international fame. Couldn't be part of a team. Gathering up all the green. Focusing on the beat. It's like Jet Sea. What the fuck is my destiny doing on this track? I got instrumental YouTube contact. I got the rhythm and blues and set my heart and muscle. Friendship is magic and friendship is gold. And the haters let go. Chosen. Aesthetic is the path that I have chosen. Can't go it alone, let me slide into your friend zone. taken out in stores today. You can also go to my bank account, your friend, and I'll say thank you for the handout, or even hands off. I don't got a job, no mom can't compete against my internet war. I don't make no paper when a trap house dream. My friendship on me, rolling blunts every day. My rhythm's so fresh, gotta call it anyway. But I digress, I am nothing without my friends on my family. Only you can make my dreams become reality. I want for all beings everywhere to be good friends. I want ourselves to care about each other until the end. I don't let the work my fellow beings suffer. If you fall down, I want to see you better. I want to cushion your fall and help you back up. I want to pour some cold water into your cup. I want to offer you the nutritious plant foods to eat. And if it's cold, I want to help you find some peace. I heard a good quote the other day. It goes like this: hurt people hurt people. So when people try to hurt me, I don't get mad, because maybe someone else would treat you back. My mission in life is to help others. I want ourselves to be kind to one another. If anyone listening wants to be friends with me, I gotta tell you, that would make me very happy.
Yeah, son, it's all right here about friendship, son. That real ass shit, son. Don't give a hoot about fly, son. I got a lot of friends who always on my back, trying to get a couple fix. They wanna be where I'm at. Ain't a bad thing, got a bunch of trout, strive out the way. I skip with the homies with the gray. The ones who let me some shadow represent me. The ones who always believe in me. The ones who create the mistakes that I made. I'm sticking with the homies that are past. Fourth grade, yes sir, and I keep myself tired. So if you my homie, you finna be living right. Good night, and it's just the beginning. Just believe me, I'm finna be winning. I've had fake friends who would stab me in the back. That shit was rad, and now they regret that. Cause I'm a straight up legend in the booth. Yeah, she be gang sign, I don't give a hoot.
Wow, I've never chewed and masticated an apple quite as long. I haven't quite enjoyed an apple like this quite a long time. Not even done with it yet, and I'm quite stuffed.
Yes, sir. I don't give a squat about shit, son. We run the game from the jump, son. Yeah, let's go. Squat! 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 What it do? Squat! 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 What it do? What it do? I don't give a squat. I don't give a hoot. Get the door wet like the morning dew. She gon' give me that. Go text the FedEx. Getting high, the Mount Everest sun, that's a bed. Spot man Bruce Willis. It's going down like shot clock. Crunch time, hustling, I got 45. Better I hop, so bad I need a mop. Took it back, took the crib, other one there was Bob. I'm all about my business, I'm a cheddar babe. Drop top 6, it's a grown with the fame. Before the CHG, my gang, I'm a mad. 0 rules for this shit, I'm sit on the glass.
The spiritual warrior, a separate reality. When a person embarks on the path of sorcery, they become aware in a gradual manner that ordinary life has been forever left behind, that knowledge is indeed a frightening affair, that the means of the ordinary world are no longer a buffer for them, and that they must adopt a new way of life if they are going to survive. The first thing they ought to do at that point is to want to become a warrior, a very important step and decision. The frightening nature of knowledge leaves one no alternative but to become a warrior. Perhaps the first thing one should do is to know that one can develop the will. A warrior knows that and proceeds to wait for it. The warrior knows that they are waiting and knows what they are waiting for. A warrior has no problems. They know that they are waiting for their will. Will is something very special. It happens mysteriously. There is no real way of telling how one uses it, except that the results of using the will are astounding. A warrior has only their will and their patience, and with them, they build anything they want. To be a warrior, a person has to be, first of all, and rightfully so, keenly aware of their own death. But to be concerned with death would force any one of us to focus on the self, and that would be debilitating. So the next thing one needs to be a warrior is detachment. The idea of imminent death, instead of becoming an obsession, becomes an indifference. It is up to us as individuals to oppose the forces of our lives. Only a warrior can survive. A warrior knows that they are waiting and what they are waiting for. And while they wait, they want nothing. And thus, whatever little thing they get is more than they can take. If they need to eat, they find a way because they are not hungry. If something hurts their body, they find a way to stop it because they are not in pain. To be hungry or to be in pain means that the person has abandoned themselves and is no longer a warrior, and the forces of their hunger and pain will destroy them. With an awareness of their death, with their detachment, and with the power of their decisions, a warrior sets their life in a strategical manner. The knowledge of their death guides them and makes them detached and silently lusty. The power of their final decisions makes them able to choose without regrets, and what they choose is always strategically the best. And so they perform everything they have to with gusto and lusty efficiency. When a person behaves in such a manner, one may rightfully say that they are a warrior and have acquired patience. A warrior is never idle and never in a hurry. A warrior lives strategically. A warrior never carries loads that cannot handle. The spirit of a warrior is not geared to indulging and complaining, nor is it geared to winning or losing. The spirit of a warrior is geared only to struggle, and every struggle is a warrior's last battle on earth. Thus, the outcome matters very little to them. In their last battle on earth, the warrior lets their spirit flow free and clear, and as they wage their battle, knowing that their will is impeccable, a warrior laughs and laughs. Warriors select the items that make their world. They select deliberately. For every item they choose is a shield that protects them from the onslaughts of the forces they are striving to use. A warrior encounters inexplicable and unbending forces because they are deliberately seeking them. Thus, they are always prepared for the encounter. The first thing a warrior must do, then, is to be prepared. A warrior takes the responsibility of protecting their life. For that purpose, a warrior must have a selected number of things that give them great peace and pleasure, things which they can deliberately use to take their thoughts from their fright and make them solid. A warrior chooses to follow the path with heart. It is the consistent choice of a path with heart which makes a warrior different from the average person. They know that a path has heart when they are one with it, when they experience a great peace and pleasure traversing its length. The things a warrior selects to make their shields are the items of a path with heart. A warrior must surround themselves with the items of a path with heart and must refuse the rest. Whenever we finish talking to ourselves, the world is always as it should be. We renew it. We kindle it with life. We uphold it with our internal talk. Not only that, but we also choose our paths as we talk to ourselves. Thus, we repeat the same choices over and over until the day we die, because we keep on repeating the same internal talk over and over until the day we die. A warrior is aware of this and strives to stop this talking. This is the last point to know if you want to live like a... How can you stop talking to yourself? First of all, you must use your ears to take some of the burden from your eyes. We have been using our eyes to judge the world since the time we were born. We talk to others and to ourselves mainly about what we see. A warrior is aware of that and listens to the world. They listen to the sounds of the world. Warriors are aware that the world will change as soon as they stop talking to themselves, and they must be prepared for that monumental jolt.
The world is such and such, or so and so, only because we tell ourselves that that is the way it is. If we stop telling ourselves that the world is so and so, the world will stop being so and so. This has been The Spiritual Warrior, a separate reality. Thanks for listening. Until next time. The following is a passage from the book The Fire from Within by Carlos Castaneda, where Don Juan guides Carlos to see the energetic cocoon of human beings, ending with potentially dangerous consequences on this episode of All Things Perceptual. He told me then that I was in my keenest state of awareness, and that it was possible for me to intend my assemblage point to shift deeper into my left side to a dreaming position. He said that warriors should never attempt seeing unless they are aided by dreaming. I argued that to fall asleep in public was not one of my fortes. He clarified his statement, saying that to move the assemblage point away from its natural setting and to keep it fixed at a new location is to be asleep. With practice, seers learn to be asleep and yet behave as if nothing is happening to them. After a moment's pause, he added that for purposes of seeing the cocoon of man, one has to gaze at people from behind as they walk away. It is useless to gaze at people face to face, because the front of the egg-like cocoon of man has a protective shield, which seers call the front plate. It is an almost impregnable, unyielding shield that protects us throughout our lives against the onslaught of a peculiar force that stems from the emanations themselves. He also told me not to be surprised if my body was stiff, as though it were frozen. He said that I was going to feel very much like someone standing in the middle of a room, looking at the street through a window, and that speed was of the essence, as people were going to move extremely fast by my seeing window. He told me then to relax my muscles, shut off my internal dialogue, and let my assemblage point drift away under the spell of inner silence. He urged me to smack myself gently but firmly on my right side, between my hip bone and my rib cage. I did that 3 times, and I was sound asleep. It was a most peculiar state of sleep. My body was dormant, but I was perfectly aware of everything that was taking place. I could hear Don Juan talking to me, and I could follow every one of his statements as if I were awake, yet I could not move my body at all. Don Juan said that a man was going to walk by my seeing window, and that I should try to see him. I unsuccessfully attempted to move my head, and then a shiny, egg-like object appeared. It was resplendent. I was awed by the sight, and before I could recover from my surprise, it was gone. It floated away, bobbing up and down. Everything had been so sudden and fast that it made me feel frustrated and impatient. I felt that I was beginning to wake up. Don Juan talked to me again and urged me to relax. He said that I had no right and no time to be impatient. Suddenly, another luminous being appeared and moved away. It seemed to be made of white fluorescent shag. Don Juan whispered in my ear that if I wanted to, my eyes were capable of slowing down everything they focused on. Then he warned me that another man was coming. I realized at that instant that there were 2 voices. The one I had just heard was the same one that had admonished me to be patient. That was Don Juan's. The other, the one that told me to use my eyes to slow down movement, was the voice of seeing. That afternoon, I saw 10 luminous beings in slow motion. The voice of seeing guided me to witness in them everything Don Juan had told me about the glow of awareness. There was a vertical band with a stronger amber glow on the right side of those egg-like luminous creatures, perhaps 1/10 of the total volume of the cocoon. The voice said that that was the man's band of awareness. The voice pointed out a dot on the man's band, a dot with an intense shine. It was high on the oblong shapes, almost on the crest of them, on the surface of the cocoon. The voice said that it was the assemblage point. When I saw each luminous creature in profile, from the point of view of its body, its egg-like shape was like a gigantic, asymmetrical yo-yo that was standing edgewise, or like an almost round pot that was resting on its side with its lid on. The part that looked like a lid was the front plate. It was perhaps 1/5 of the thickness of the total cocoon. I would have gone on seeing those creatures, but Don Juan said that I should now gaze at people face to face and sustain my gaze until I had broken the barrier and I was seeing the emanations. I followed his command. Almost instantaneously, I saw a most brilliant array of live, compelling fibers of light. It was a dazzling sight that immediately shattered my balance. I fell down on the cement walk on my side. From there, I saw the compelling fibers of light multiply themselves. They burst open, and myriads of other fibers came out of them. But the fibers, compelling as they were, somehow did not interfere with my ordinary view. There were scores of people going into church. I was no longer seeing them. There were quite a few women and men just around the bench. I wanted to focus my eyes on them, but instead, I noticed how one of those fibers of light bulged suddenly. It became like a ball of fire that was perhaps 7 feet in diameter. It rolled on me. My first impulse was to roll out of its way. Before I could even move a muscle, the ball had hit me. I felt it as clearly as if someone had punched me gently in the stomach. An instant later, another ball of fire hit me, this time with considerably more strength. And then Don Juan whacked me really hard on the cheek with his open hand. I jumped up involuntarily and lost sight of the fibers of light and the balloons that were hitting me. Don Juan said that I had successfully endured my first brief encounter with the eagle's emanations, but that a couple of shoves from the tumbler had dangerously opened my gap. He added that the balls that had hit me were called the rolling force, or the tumbler. We had returned to his house, although I did not remember how or when. I had spent hours in a sort of semi-sleeping state. Don Juan and the others of his group had given me large amounts of water to drink. They had also submerged me in an ice-cold tub of water for short periods of time. Were those fibers I saw the eagle's emanations? I asked Don Juan. Yes, but you didn't really see them, he replied. No sooner had you begun to see than the tumbler stopped you. If you had remained a moment longer, it would have blasted you. What exactly is the tumbler? I asked. It is a force from the eagle's emanations, he said. A ceaseless force that strikes us every instant of our lives. It is lethal when seen, but otherwise we are oblivious to it in our ordinary lives because we have protective shields. We have consuming interests that engage all of our awareness. We are permanently worried about our station, our positions. These shields, however, do not keep the tumbler away. They simply keep us from seeing it directly, protecting us in this way from getting hurt by the fright of seeing the balls of fire hitting us. Shields are a great help and a great hindrance to us. They pacify us and at the same time fool us. They give us a false sense of security. He warned me that a moment would come in my life when I would be without any shields, uninterruptedly, at the mercy of the tumbler. He said that it is an obligatory stage in the life of a warrior, known as losing the human form. I asked him to explain to me once and for all what the human form is and what it means to lose it. He replied that seers describe the human form as the compelling force of alignment of the emanations lit by the glow of awareness on the precise spot on which normally man's assemblage point is fixated. It is the force that makes us into persons. Thus, to be a person is to be compelled to affiliate with that force of alignment, and consequently to be affiliated with the precise spot where it originates. By reason of their activities, at a given moment, the assemblage points of warriors drift toward the left. It is a permanent move which results in an uncommon sense of aloofness or control, or even abandon. That drift of the assemblage point entails a new alignment of emanations. It is the beginning of a series of greater shifts. Seers very aptly call this initial shift losing the human form, because it marks an inexorable movement of the assemblage point away from its original setting, resulting in the irreversible loss of our affiliation to the force that makes us persons. End of passage. For more information about seeing, the rolling force, the ego's emanations, and losing the human form, check out the book, The Fire from Within by Carlos Castaneda. And if this is your first time here, I would be honored to have you as a subscriber on YouTube. New videos come out on Mondays, so until then, see you next time, and thanks for watching.
One more, and
This is an ad for a project.
one more, and then I'm going to go enjoy some fresh air and some sun. Maybe play some basketball. Do some landscaping and gardening.
The Spiritual Warrior. Tales of Power. A warrior has to act consistently and without reservations. A warrior takes their lot, whatever it may be, and accepts it in ultimate humbleness. They accept in humbleness what they are, not as grounds for regret, but as a living challenge. What matters is that a warrior be impeccable. What matters to a warrior is arriving at the totality of oneself. A rule of thumb for a warrior is that they make their decisions so carefully that nothing that may happen as a result can surprise them, much less drain their power. To be a warrior means to be humble and alert. A warrior's way is harmony. A warrior cannot be helpless, or bewildered, or frightened, not under any circumstances. For a warrior, there is time only for their impeccability. Everything else drains their power. Impeccability replenishes it. A warrior needs nothing. Life in itself is sufficient, self-explanatory, and complete. A warrior is in the hands of power, and their only freedom is to choose an impeccable life. A warrior is always ready. A warrior acknowledges their pain, but they don't indulge in it. A warrior's joyfulness comes from having accepted their fate, and from having truthfully assessed what lies ahead of them. A warrior considers themselves already dead, so there is nothing for them to lose. The worst has already happened to them. Therefore, they're clear and calm. Knowledge for a warrior is something that comes at once, engulfs them, and passes on. Warriors do not win victories by beating their heads against walls. but by overtaking the walls. Warriors jump over the walls. They don't demolish them. The warrior is always aware of every change. It is precisely the aim of the warrior's way to foster and maintain that awareness. The warrior cleans it, shines it, and keeps it running. A warrior never lets their guard down. A warrior dies the hard way. Their death must struggle to take them. A warrior does not give themselves to it. One of the acts of a warrior is never to let anything affect them. Thus, a warrior may be seeing the devil himself, but they won't let anyone know that. A warrior cannot complain or regret anything. Their life is an endless challenge, and challenges cannot possibly be good or bad. Challenges are simply challenges. A warrior must be fluid and must shift harmoniously with the world around them. The warrior lowers their head to no one, but at the same time, they don't permit anyone to lower their head to them. A warrior must be calm and collected, and must never lose their grip. A warrior starts off with the certainty that their spirit is off balance. Then, by living in full control and awareness, but without hurry or compulsion, they do their ultimate best to gain this balance. A warrior is always joyful, because their love is unalterable, and their beloved, the earth, embraces them and bestows upon them inconceivable gifts. Only the love for this splendorous being can give freedom to a warrior's spirit, and freedom is joy, efficiency, and abandon in the face of any odds. This has been Spiritual Warrior, Tales of Power. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
All right, well, thanks for joining, everyone. Peace out.